introduce you to Jeff Davis, who was a member of the Greenville Tea Party, and he's going to talk to us about education. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. It was interesting. Joe asked me earlier if I had a title. I don't have a title. I'm not a senator. I'm not a politician. I'm just like all of you. I'm an individual who saw something, got involved in something, got dragged into something, and I can't look away. Is that better? How's that? Is that better? Ah, fantastic. I'm just like all of you. As I mentioned earlier, I got dragged into something which I really wish I didn't get dragged into. I think all of you have kind of had your eyes open to a lot of things that we've heard over the past 2.5 days. There's a lot of corruption going on in our state. We all know about the issues with mainstream media, what's going on, and what's being reported or not reported with fake news that's out there. But just like all of you that are here today, and I thank you for all being here, when you see something, you have to do something. And that's what myself and my wife have got kind of involved in. And what we've got involved in is school choice. School choice, and there's two main takeaways that I'd like to just kind of convey to each of you today. School choice is a confusing term. Does anyone or any of the politicians that you voted for say they don't support school choice? They all say they support school choice. And I'm going to steal this from the gentleman that gave the presentation on personhood earlier. He said, people are taking the term that they are pro-life, but with exceptions. In our case, with what's going on in school choice, everyone will say they're pro-school choice, but what does that mean? They may be pro-public school choice, switching from one public school to the other, or switching or going to a magnet school or a charter school. Those are all public schools. Is there choice when it's still only public schools? I don't think that's real choice. There is private school choice throughout the country. There's about 20 states that have private school choice run by independent nonprofits, total separation from the government. There is a minimal amount of oversight that is necessary. There's about 250,000 kids nationwide that participate in private school choice, K through 12, independent private schools. That's Christian schools, that's Catholic schools, that's Jewish schools, that's secular schools that are just not public schools that maybe families don't appreciate Common Core. They want a different type of education, maybe more challenging. Maybe in our particular case here in South Carolina, maybe it has to do with special needs children. All of those states are run independently, except for the state of South Carolina. We have a private school choice program that was started 5 years ago, just like every other program in the country, independently run. And after 3 years, the Department of Revenue now runs it. We are the only state that does that. The Department of Revenue and a government-appointed board. Hugh Leatherman has 2 appointments to this 5-person board, the chairman of Ways and Means and the governor. Again, that is not school choice, in our opinion. So that's takeaway number one. Is school choice, is it really school choice if it's government run, or does it school choice have to be independently run? And I would think most of you agree here that it should be independent. The second thing is I wish I could cede back 10 minutes of my time to Senator Davis. He talked about it. One of the 3 things that he talks about as he's traveling around the state is obviously the gas tax, pension reform, and K through 12 education. You heard him kind of mention it. He is the champion of school choice, private, independent school choice, and it's taken a long time working with him and discussing and educating him on what's going on in the school choice industry, if you will, here in our state. And he did just confirm to me a few minutes ago, and he's written about this publicly This week is School Choice Week, and he is going to be dropping a bill on Thursday that we are very supportive of, and we would like y'all to be supportive of it as well. And in regards to that, we're all activists. We're all trying to get out there and get information. And one of the things, as we were kind of talking about, a lot of people have given a lot of information, but what's the solution? What do you do? How do you get involved? I would encourage all of y'all to go to, my wife runs a nonprofit called Palmetto Kids First Scholarship Program. The website's palmettokidsfirst.org. Just go to the bottom, sign up for the email list and for Facebook. We send out every Saturday morning an email update to 2,500 parents and school officials and some activists like yourselves. We need more activists. Parents are intimidated into not speaking up too much. School officials are intimidated into not speaking up too much when it's a program run by the South Carolina Department of Revenue and a government-appointed board. And your child is dependent upon a scholarship, and you don't really want to talk back to the Department of Revenue. I'm a tax attorney by trade. I'm not too concerned or afraid of the Department of Revenue, but most individuals out there are afraid of the government in that sense. So I would, again, encourage you to go to palmettokidsfirst.org, sign up for the email list. I think you'll really enjoy it. One of the things Mr. Dugan said, don't be politically correct, don't hold anything back. I think you will find on those emails we don't hold anything back, and that might be why the government took over the program 2 years ago. So I really appreciate that. One thing I just want to, again, is school choice, just kind of as a preface, is school choice good? I don't think I really have to convince this group that school choice is important. It's obviously a highly controversial issue out there. People will say, well, if you support school choice, you don't support the public schools. I'm not a basher of public schools. We've got some fantastic public schools in our state. We've actually got some very innovative public school programs, as they would call it, to help children and the such. But it's not, one size doesn't fit all. So in that sense, we need more than just the public schools. To me, it's that's why Olga picked up the name of Palmetto Kids First. We want to put kids first. It's not just a name that you pick for an organization, but it's really what we do and how we live. Choice is the ultimate form of liberty. I hang out with just from an earlier background, I was a tax attorney, CPA, working in Atlanta. I'm from Charleston. And I was just a good Republican, like I think probably most of you were here. You go to the polls, you'd vote, you think that's your civic duty. I'd hit the R and pull the lever, and that's the end of it. That's what I thought was the end of it. But what I have done since getting dragged into this kind of debate is I've hung out with a lot of liberty-oriented folks, and there's a science to liberty. And if we're not, there's a lot of things that are immediate, such as the EMP pulse and personhood, and there's things that we've got to look at and work at right now because it's critical. But school choice, if we don't focus on that, we're going to lose generations 15, 20 years from now. Some of the things we're suffering with now, everybody likes to complain about the millennials, it's because of where public schools have progressed over the past 25 years. I'm a product of the public school. Finished high school up in Greenville, South Carolina back in 1985. Public schools are a lot different than they are today. My mother was an educator. She was a school teacher, moved up to a principal and worked as an administrator. It's totally different in the 5 years since she's been retired, and it's only getting worse. They say we don't have Common Core, but we do. It's just been renamed. So education is the ultimate freedom. I know we got some critical issues to work on, but if we can push through this bill with what Senator Davis is talking about, $50 million for special needs children and low-income children, it will certainly change lives. The other thing I just wanted to mention quickly, I'm a fiscal conservative. We're pushing for a bill that's going to be $50 million. You're like, why is that guy asking for more money? You know, I'm not, you know, the only reason I'm comfortable going out and asking for more money for this program is because it saves the taxpayers dollars. If we were just all engineers or accountants figuring out what's the best solution to education, and educators, figuring out the best solution, the most economical solution, it's the ability to implement school choice. A lot of the schools out there, public schools, or private schools, I'm sorry, you know, they're in churches. They're in, you know, excess, you know, buildings that, you know, we work with about 70 schools across the state, and none of them, sans maybe one or two, looks as nice as any generic public school that you will see driving out in the middle of the country. I've seen some schools out in the middle of the country which would put every private school in this state to shame, and it's confusing. But a lot of those schools will be $4,000 or $5,000 a year. We're spending, as Senator Davis mentioned earlier, 24th in the nation per pupil spending, and we're getting 51st in results. That makes no sense, and as he will tell you as well, when you have a problem like that, the legislature's first solution is to throw more money at it. What we're doing is offering the legislature, we're offering Republicans, we're offering Democrats a solution that will save the taxpayers money and that will actually help children and help educate them. So, just to tell you how Olga, my wife, Olga, in the pink over there, everybody seems to know her, how we got involved. In Georgia, they passed a tax credit scholarship program back in 2008. It was a $50 million program. A tax attorney that worked for me came and said, Jeff, you know, this is a pretty interesting program. Would you sponsor or one of these nonprofits? So I said, let me take a look at it. It looks interesting. Before we knew it, I hired a guy, we set up the nonprofit, we knew the right folks to go ask for donations. You know, we knew the people who paid a lot of tax, so we just went and talked to them, asked them to donate to the program. It ended up being the second largest nonprofit in the Georgia's now $58 million program. There's about 30 of these independent, free market nonprofits that are implementing Georgia's program. So it was at the end of the day, I kind of looked at, I'm over there doing tax work and lawyer work and accounting work and tax returns. I'm like, the guy in our office with the best job was the guy out there raising tax credit donations and taking big checks to kids to go to a private school in Georgia. So it was just really exciting for me. But in 2011, we moved back to South Carolina. South Carolina has been working on this type of private school choice since 2003. And once I kind of figured it out in 2008 over in Georgia, I started saying, you know what, I wonder what my home state is doing about this. And I started looking at some laws. And you know, every year they would propose a law, then they make it totally different. And you know, that would or wouldn't get through, and there'd be a big controversy, and there's a big fight. And I'm like, that's a red state. Why? It's fully red. Why is this so difficult when Georgia just, you know, submitted it and it passed? So kept following the progress, not involved in any of this stuff politically, but in 2013, they finally passed a law here in the state of South Carolina, $8 million. $8 million is a drop in the bucket. We heard Treasurer Loftus talk earlier about how we lost $2 billion in just giving away our bankruptcy rights, or we lost $120 million here. You know, it's amazing, but all the legislature could get out was $8 million for this. After that was finally passed, I actually called up the lobbyists, or the paid advocates, as we like to call them, that were pushing this bill through since 2003. I said, well, I've started one of these nonprofits before. Do you have anybody that's going to do it, or do you need any help? I'd be happy to volunteer or give you some advice or some information pro bono. They had no rollout plan. They had been working on a school choice initiative for, at that point, 10 years and had absolutely no rollout plan. So we stepped in, we volunteered, we started a nonprofit, we invested what it took to get the organization up and running and the such, and we started talking to schools and we started talking to donors. And before the program was even started, we had $6 million worth of donors lined up to donate day number one. If that's where the story ended, it would be fantastic. But the Education Oversight Committee, the program was supposed to start January 1st, 2014. Education Oversight Committee, again, involved in government that oversees our public schools, did not certify the nonprofits, did not get the program running, and we lost all but $64,000 of those donors. And it was purposeful. And that's when I started to say, this is not what government is supposed to be. I talked to a legislator recently that sat there and told me, well, Jeff, when I first came to the legislature, I thought it was just a bunch of folks trying to volunteer and do the right thing and really, you know, make our state the best state, or I'm sure they'd say the same thing up in D.C. And he's like, when I got here, that's not what was going on. So it's really gotten us involved in it. We want to educate as many people as we can, and we also want to help as many children as we can. Let me tell you, school choice is kind of broken down into two types of school choice: public school choice and private school choice. That's what we work on. In the private school choice, there's really been I guess, 20 some odd year process. It initially started with vouchers. That's the old school, Milton Friedman, they started vouchers, all government run. Then there was this invention called the tax credit scholarship, which are independently run nonprofits. Very exciting, not government money. We've taken that structure all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Supreme Court has said if you donate to one of these nonprofits, it's not tax dollars. It's never gone into the government coffers, so it's not tax dollars. You can't even sue one of these nonprofits. But what's been interesting to us is there's a new iteration, a version 3, as they like to call it, which are these education savings accounts. There can be good education savings accounts, but apparently the ones that are being pushed by the paid advocates out there and the big think tanks that are there are government run. So it's almost like we went from vouchers, government run, to tax credit scholarships, protected by the U.S. Supreme Court, privately run, private nonprofits, free market. I talked to one of the governor candidates, and he's all about the free market, and that's what they would prefer. But South Carolina has gone to a solution that is government run, and we're trying to work on that. The other thing I'd like to just point out real quick is it's big money. School choice has been, at least in the past, big money. It's big money on both sides. It's big money on the public school side. I mean, we in the state of South Carolina, it's probably $8 or $9 billion goes into our public schools. You can't tell me there's not a nice slice of money going into a lot of paid advocates. We spend a lot of time at the State House. We see them. There's a whole big row at the back of every hearing meeting of folks working on the public school side. It's the same thing as on the private school choice side. I will tell you, in the state of South Carolina, from 2003 to 2015, with only one of these organizations, they had $14 million given to them to advocate for school choice. It's the same people that didn't have a rollout plan when they finally passed the law in 2013. And the reason I think they actually passed the law in 2013 is because the rumor I was told was the funder from out of state told them he was tired of giving them money. He wasn't going to give them any money, so then, lo and behold, they passed a law. But they only passed $8 million, made it very small. They wanted to keep the fish on the line, if you will. So just when you hear about other advocacy groups out there speaking about school choice, or you hear a legislator talk about school choice, ask them what type of school choice they believe in. Do they believe in government-run school choice? Or are they talking about independent, private, nonprofit school choice? And ask them specifically what they feel about Senator Davis's bill. So again, I'd encourage you to all go to PalmettoKidsFirst.org, sign up for our email update, and follow us on Facebook. We've got a great following. I think some people don't get out of bed on a Saturday morning until they read our updates. It's kind of exciting. So, but I appreciate your time, and thank you, and that'll be it.